Greetings, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Wine and Wisdom. I am Dr. Carlia East, here to bring you all the wine in the wisdom. 20-year veteran in the game, been helping men and women deal with relationships, imposter syndrome, self-esteem, self-worth, self-value, and just general overall self-love. So let's get it. We are in our Q&A series, which I absolutely love. You guys keep the questions coming. Know that you can always DM me. At Dr. E Speaks, or either email me, drespeaks@gmail.com. And then that way you guys can send me any of your questions and messages, both male and female. I answer them all. So let's get right to it. First question is, I have been considering going to counseling with my husband, but he hates the idea of it. How can I make him realize that this is important for me and for our relationship? Okay, so when it comes to counseling, especially couples counseling, both people have to have buy-in. That's just the bottom line. It is a individual process, particularly therapy. So when someone is agreeing to do it as a couple, you have to understand that there are both individual needs that have to be assessed and attained and benefited from that transaction, as well as the couple, needs as far as you working through things. What I will tell you is this: if your husband or mate is not open to the idea of therapy, that doesn't mean that you shouldn't go and do what the hell you need to do. Because at the end of the day, either they're going to recognize that you are healing and working through your feelings and emotions, which means that your expectation, needs and wants and desires are going to change and shift. And they need to be ready to get on board with that, which is going to motivate them to change and shift. Or you're going to become healthy and recognize that you are actually with an unhealthy individual. And when you have that clarity, you can't close your eyes on that. So therapy has to be something that you're going to do regardless, because if there are things that can make you a better wife or better female, a better human, then why not do that regardless of who your mate is? If your husband agrees to go to therapy, it's not a thing of convincing him. It's a thing of helping him to understand value in therapy, helping him to understand that, listen, let's find someone together. Let's research someone together. You come with your top three, I'll come with my top three, and we'll both, flip and interview them and figure out which one we like. He has to be a part of the decision-making process as well. It just can't be you bringing the therapist to the table, because then he feels it's one-sided. Also, if he doesn't want to go to therapy, then look at some alternative things, because therapy, as the therapist, is not the only way that we can channel our energy. There are, church influences and pastoral counseling. There are life coaches that he may want to work with. He might just want to go to the barbershop and kick it with some old heads that have a bit more advice and intelligence than he does in that particular area. He might want to follow a podcast. So as long as he's making efforts to try to reach you, then that should be important, and not necessarily that he has to buy into the therapy process in order for you guys to grow. But if he does buy into it, make sure it's not by threat or not by any type of circumstances that way, because he's going to fake it to make it. And then eventually you guys are going to be back in the same space that you were before, but worse. But thank you for your question. I hope I helped. All right. Second question. My boyfriend of 4 years and I have been going through a rough phase where we just can't get along. It's been like this for about a month or two, and I find myself very hurt and down a lot. How can I tell if this is not just a bad phase, or if this is a sign that we shouldn't be together? Okay. This is the first question I have to ask anyone who is feeling kind of rocky in their relationships. Do you feel like fighting for your relationship? Real simple question, because it really boils down to that. Relationships are a full-time damn job, and y'all know it takes a lot of energy and effort. Now, I am one of those persons that I understand that in relationships there are risks, right? So even though I am, divorcing and going through my process, I'm very much looking forward to a relationship and a meaningful dynamic, because guess what? I still got the second half of my life to live, and I know it's going to be beautiful, because that's what God intended. But I will tell you this: every relationship is going to hit some rocks and some rough patches. What it has to be about are both of you down? Are both of you there? Are both of you recognizing that you're making a choice every day? Let me tell y'all something. Relationships aren't just about we're bound by this ring, we're bound by these expectations or these ceremonial things. You have a choice, and you wake up every day and you choose your mate. And every day you choose them knowing that they have flaws, knowing that you have flaws. But is it worth the choice? Because every relationship has risk factors associated with it. No one comes together with just a straight A report card. We have A's, B's, and some of us have C's. But if we're able to even that shit out, then it's a workable thing. And if we're able to complement each other on the areas that you have an A and maybe he has a C, then that's another area. The other thing you want to think about is this person willing to have a discussion with you? Because if they're shut down and not talking, they're not really giving any equitable communication. So how can you even feel like you can thrive or move forward in the relationship? This person is not even communicating about the fact that you guys are stagnant. And if someone is not willing to acknowledge you in conversation and not willing to acknowledge you in person, then that's just straight disrespect, neglect, which is abuse. So we also have to call a spade a spade. If we're being neglected by our mate, but that mate is not paying attention to us, or they're neglecting us from sex, or they're neglecting us from their time and energy, or they're neglecting us from eye contact, or any of those things, but they're managing to spend all this time every place else, then we have to recognize that that person is no longer vested in our relationship. And we need to feel empowered enough to recognize that that's just not acceptable. Whether it's the male or the female, it's not acceptable. Every relationship goes through seasons. And that means that sometimes we have to renegotiate the contract of our relationship because we have grown and we have changed through these seasons. So you may want to see where you are, how you have shifted, look and see if he's shifting, or if you guys have even been in communication about the fact that you are shifting, because there may just need to be a simple conversation. As you can see, it's a loaded thing. So there's a lot of answers associated with, but if you want to get a little deeper, you can always, get with me on some therapy tip and I can get both of y'all together because y'all do know I be rocking that couples counseling. Okay. Third question. I lost my girlfriend's trust a few months back, and though she has forgiven me, I can tell there's still some anger there. How can I gain her trust back and forgive myself in addition to that? Okay. So trust is so easy to break and so hard to regain. And thank you so much for my male for sending in this question, because I do answer questions from both males and females. Listen, I'm a firm believer that in order to overcome infidelity in a relationship, both parties have to be willing to do so. Meaning there has to be you that comes to the table that owns your shit and says, yes, I did something wrong. And be completely transparent and honest with it. If she's asking you a question about it, boo, it's because she already knows. So you trying to save face and save pride because you feel guilty and ashamed of your behavior, and you're trying to do that to fulfill yourself, is only putting another dent in her trust in you and her faith in you. So keep it a buck, because she already probably knows what the deal is, and she's just waiting to see if you're really willing to keep it 100 with her so that she can trust you again to move forward. So that being said, you have to be able to own your shit and be able to show that you are apologetic about it. Now, I'm not one of those people that feels like a person needs to know your location and low jack your car and you got to check in every 5 minutes, because then now we're not even having an organic relationship. We're having this military style relationship where I need to know where you are in order to trust you. And to be honest, the whole point of trust and blind faith in your partner is knowing that they're going to do the right thing without you having to do all of that. And I don't want that in my life personally, because I don't want nobody low jacking me. Okay. So it takes that piece, right? You got to realize that it's not about tracking. It's about trusting. So you have to have you coming to the table owning your shit, but also she has to come to the table with an openness to forgive and then to reciprocate that. Meaning, if I'm hurt and you come to me and apologize, as much as I'm hurt, if I agree to stay in that relationship, then I'm choosing to be open to forgive, which means that after we've had the question in the Q&A where I figured out all the answers, I can't continue to throw that up in your face and use that as a valid reason, especially if you are making effort towards not even being or repeating the behavior that you did before. I have to receive what you're giving and reciprocate that with understanding, with love, and also with care, because that's how it builds. If you are the person that's hurt and you are constantly jabbing and deflecting and hitting that ball back to the other side's court, at some point they're going to stop playing. They're going to stop caring because you're not seeing them and receiving them. So there has to be a give and take and an ebb and flow on both sides. And also the two of you have to be able to come together and maybe renegotiate and set new rules about how you want to move forward. Maybe there need to be some different practices. Maybe there need to be some areas where you both share more responsibilities in the household instead of it being a more traditional, stereotypical role where she does certain things and you do the others, right? And so it takes the both of you coming together. But remember this is your relationship, not your friends or your family's relationship. So if the two of you decide to make it work, do that shit, because the rest of them got to live for them and you got to live for you. Okay. I hope that I have been helpful with answering these questions. I love responding. I try to make sure I keep it in a 10-minute frame. But ladies and gents, please like, share, and follow me. Again, I am Dr. East. I am wine and wisdom, and giving you guys the opportunity to elevate your mind and to sip and to be able to rationalize and give yourself the benefit of the doubt and love yourself no